So is this the mantra of the best part is no part?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Keep it simple.
You guys loved part one, you're begging for a part two, so I'm in Los Angeles about to take a tour of Impulse Space with the legendary Tom Mueller, SpaceX employee number one. Let's go meet him. You might think Elon Musk is SpaceX employee number one, right? Wrong. It's this guy. Tom Mueller founded Impulse Space in 2021, but his history in the space industry goes way back before SpaceX even existed. Tom worked at TRW for 15 years, where he was responsible for liquid rocket engine development. But in 2002, he decided to take up Elon Musk's offer and join him in the creation of SpaceX. I'll be breaking this video into two parts. First, we'll get to know Tom and the journey that led him to where he is today. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss part two, where we'll take an out-of-this-world tour of Impulse Space. But first, let's get to know Tom. Tell me a little bit about like the early days with, and maybe some of your teammates, Gwen, Elon, Buzza, Hans, all these folks, and you know what that was like.
Yeah. So Tim Buzza was one of the earliest hires. We got him, and I started in May of 2002. I think he came like in the fall of 2002, and basically my team of engineers and his small team of engineers, we went to Texas and started setting up the Texas test site, and basically we were just the traveling band of rocket development guys. He built the test site, we built the engines and ran the engines down there. So a lot of camaraderie, a lot of successes and failures, and just really a fun time, but really an intense time. Super intense developing an engine. There's just so many things that go wrong. Like, we got our first turbo pumps from Barbara Nichols, and I think we basically solved almost every type of problem you can have with a turbo pump.
Wow.
Like bearing problems, cavitation problems, cooling problems, just everything. But we got through it, and you say you learn from your failures. We just learned a lot, like how to fix things.
Yeah.
So we got pretty good at turbo pumps, and that's why we ended up bringing it in-house, because we got so good at it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're SpaceX employee number one?
I was the first one to sign, so I ended up being employee number one in payroll. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, but I mean, Elon incorporated the company. I think what was it, on Pi Day, which was March, and I joined in May.
Okay.
So he's really employee number one. He started the company, but I guess I don't know how it ended up that he wasn't employee number one. But anyway, I think from what I heard is because I was the first one to sign, and then I think Chris Thompson signed, and then Elon signed and said, in the official documents of the company, he ended up becoming employee number three.
That's so funny. What was it like to work with Gwen?
Gwen's the best. Everybody loves Gwen. It's like, she came in, I think about June or so, if I'm remembering right, maybe a little later. It was that summer, because I started in May. Hans was the first person I interviewed, and I told Elon, yeah, I like this guy, so we hired Hans, and he's the one that said you should get Gwen, because he worked with her. And she came in right after, so she was pretty early on. But I was off to Texas, developing engines, and she was off selling Falcon 1 rockets. And she did a great job, because we had sold them before we could make them. So the problem was always, can we make them fast enough? Because we had customers. She was great at business development and sales.
I live in Texas now. I'm from California. It seems like Texas is only increasing its footprint in the space industry. Why do you think Texas is such a great place for space?
Because they got wide open spaces for testing and development, and they have, they're very friendly about, setting up. Like, if you read the other Ashley Vance book, When the Heavens Opened Up or something, you talk about like when Firefly set up, how easy it was, and you have to get permits. It's like, just go do it. Like, you can't do that here. Like out at Mojave Test Site, it takes months to get permits, and everything's scrutinized. So it's just it's an environment that you can move faster as a startup.
Yeah, talk about like how antiquated and difficult all that red tape can be, and I feel like it's holding us back.
I understand its purpose because you don't want to let industry just go out and destroy nature, but I think it definitely gets, the bureaucracy gets overplayed and it really starts, there's got to be a balance, right, where you allow industry to move, but you also control them from just damaging the environment. And I think in California, in some places, that especially when you're out in the desert, it's like, why does it take months to get a permit just to grade a road on the desert?
Right, right.
You're not going to hurt anything. Right?
Yeah, right. And you would like to go to space?
I would love to go to space, yeah.
Was that your number one goal, when you were younger, or not quite?
Yeah, I thought, when I was a kid, I thought we were going to be living in space, but, like, not only were we promised jetpacks, we were promised, like, Star Trek,
Yeah.
Star Wars, Star Trek, yeah, like, it didn't happen. It's not there yet. That's why I always say, like, the true space age hasn't started yet. It's about to.
Right.
Like with Starship, with fully reusable vehicles, with propellant depots in space, with using the resources of the moon and the asteroids and building and living in space. None of that's really happened yet. It's just starting. So.
But I feel like we can credit you for, like, in large part, why we will finally be able to make that a reality.
Yeah, for sure. SpaceX, the early team that somehow survived all the way through 2008, got the party started, got the real space age started. Yeah.
What is your advice to, future engineers, astronauts, people that want to be a part of this space race and space age?
Be optimistic. Yeah, you can do it. Like I always tell students that. I love to talk with kids. Actually, the younger the better, because I want to get, like I've heard that if you're not interested in science, math and science and engineering by the time you're in high school, you won't, right? So I like to get to like grade school kids, like, hey, if you find out that you're good at math or you're really interested in science, make sure you get into STEM. But the main thing, like, and I've said this a lot, like when I met Elon, he asked me a question that 99.9% of people would say no to. I told him that I was involved in the development of that 650,000 pound thrust rocket engine at TRW. And he asked me, he said, could you build that engine? And I said yes, which, who would say that, right? I can develop a 650,000 pounds thrust booster engine. Like, yeah, I could probably find the team. If we had the money, we could do it. That is optimism. And that's what he saw. That's, that's what you need. Like, and guess what? We can. We developed my team developed a Raptor engine, which is, more sophisticated than that engine. So it was a long, hard road, but you can do it.
You guys know that I spend a ton of time traveling for these videos, editing on my computer, and even as of recently getting into Legos and spending a lot of time playing with these. And so I don't have as much time to cook, but I still want to eat nutritiously and have a healthy, balanced meal. And that is why I wanted to tell you about Soylent, which might be the world's most perfect food. Well, it's also the easiest to consume. And yes, I do know the movie, and Soylent is not made from people, it's made from plants, which I tend to be more vegetarian, so I actually really like that. It also has 20 grams of protein, which is really important to me. As many of you know, I broke my femur, and I'm getting back into working out, and so having protein during my day and after a workout is crucial. Soylent has participated in multiple third-party clinical studies, which is unique for most food companies. And if you don't trust Soylent, you can trust the researchers. Soylent is actually part of the effective cholesterol-lowering portfolio diet. And consuming Soylent is not only delicious, but it can improve your gut microbiome as well. Soylent was also recently awarded Product of the Year in a survey with over 40,000 people by Kantar Research. And they won that based on creaminess, smoothness, and taste. So let's try it out. It's actually pretty thick, but not in a bad way. Usually plant protein is pretty hard to pull off, not making it chalky, and this one actually is very creamy and very smooth. Soylent is also obviously portable, it requires no refrigeration, and it's shelf stable for over a year. Soylent was also found as an effective meal replacement for cancer patients. This was published in the International Journal of Radiation Oncology by UCLA researchers. This shows that anyone with a health issue that requires a liquid diet can benefit from the nutrition that Soylent offers. So the first 500 people to use this link and code Ellie25 will get 25% off their first subscription with Soylent. Plus, if you're not a fan of vanilla, Soylent has a ton of different flavors, and they sent me a sample box. So they actually have cafe mocha, which also has caffeine and L-theanine, which is a nice combination of L-theanine, which will calm you, and caffeine, which will give you a little boost. They have strawberry flavor, banana, which I do love banana, and mint chocolate. So thank you to Soylent for sponsoring this video. I hope you guys will give it a try, and let's get back into the tour.
All the people that I knew at Rocketdyne and TRW thought I was crazy. Like I couldn't get anybody to come. Like, you know,
really?
my first designer was a friend of mine that worked at Mattel Toys.
Wow.
I taught him how to design rocket engines because I could not get anybody that that I had worked with before on rocket engines to come join because I just thought this is impossible. Only governments and giant companies can do this. Which was our moat because, like we were the first ones to do it, and our competition was these giant companies that were super inefficient. So it's like we weren't really fighting the other companies. We were just fighting the difficulty of
the status quo.
And the status quo, and also just getting funding.
Yeah, no, was it hard to convince you to do it and, leave something stable?
It was a very difficult decision, but it was that day. I mean, when Elon said, it must have been, I gave my 2 weeks notice. It must have been in April of 2002. He said to me and Chris, we had one of those off-site meetings when we were meeting like at the Hilton down by LAX. He said, hey, he just pulled us aside and said, hey, if you guys are in, I want to start a company. It's just me and Chris Thompson and him. I'm sure he said it to other people too, but at that time it was just the three of us. And I went home and talked to my ex-wife and I said, man, this is really cool. I said, I think he's got great ideas, and I think he's got, he's PayPal is about ready, or just went public. I think he's got the capital. And she said, she goes, if you don't do this, you always kick yourself. I go, yeah. I have to do this. And I had a great career path at TRW. Things were going great there. So it was like to walk away from a sure thing, was a hard decision. But I had to do it, and it's the best decision of my life.
Yeah, I'm sure you're glad you did it and took the risk. That is so cool. What did you first think of this guy, Elon, when you met him with this crazy ambition?
Well, you've met Elon.
Yeah.
He's intense.
Yeah.
He's super intelligent. He asks the right questions. He's a really good judge of talent. He doesn't take no for an answer. Like I watched him like in those meetings we were having. Like we'd have people from the launch site come in and they're very negative about, oh, it's going to take forever. It's going to take 2 years to get through the launch process. He goes, no, it's not. We're going to do it fast. And they would argue, no, you can't. Here's why. They wouldn't be at the next meeting because he does not want naysayers. And I've heard other people say this, and I've said it. Like Elon will, if somebody says you can't do it, he'll find a way around it, under it, through it. Like he'll figure out a way to make it happen. He'll talk to everybody and figure out a different angle. Like, why is this so stupid? Let's fix it.
A little.
He's impatient, and he's he just doesn't give up.
Yeah, not PC, but gets the job done. What's your favorite memory with him?
Oh, first flight success, hanging out with him at Burning Man a few times. When it's not a work environment, he could be the coolest dude in the world to hang out with, actually. Like super smart, fun to talk with, always has great ideas. Watching him and his brother, Kimball, the way they interact with each other is amazing. Yeah. Just like they're so tuned to each other, talking about all this crazy stuff. It's like, wow, you can't even break into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have kids?
Yeah, I have grandkids.
Oh, wow. How important is that to you to have kids?
Oh, very important. Yeah.
Well, do they?
My brother has a huge family in Idaho. Yeah, so I have lots of nieces and nephews. Always new babies to see.
Do they also have an interest in space? Do they want to follow in Dad's
They do now
footsteps?
because of me, but no, not really. They live in Idaho and started out in the logging industry. My brother's as a surveyor, but they live vicariously through me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you were in the logging industry for a bit too, right?
Yeah, I put myself through college by sawing during the summer.
Wow.
Yeah, falling trees.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, are you hiring?
We're hiring right now. Yeah, we're actually kind of getting to where we want to be. We just hit 100. I think we're going to probably top out around 120 and kind of hold for a while. Employees, yeah.
What do you need the most right now?
Hopefully production people. That's a
Yeah.
good problem to have.
Very cool.
We've got a lot of parts to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it won't be as hard to convince people now versus, back then.
Right. We've actually we have a great team. People know it. I think we're well recognized. We've been pretty good at hiring. Like our the acceptance rate has been very high, and we've been able to get great talent. That's how we've been able to build and maintain a really great team.
Isn't that
Which is super
interesting?
important.
The juxtaposition where you had to beg people to work for SpaceX, and now SpaceX and Tesla are some of the most highly sought after places.
But even though we had to beg, the bar was high. Like Elon himself interviewed every engineer, every person really in the company for years, and he would not let somebody that he felt was not high quality through. Even though we were trying to get people, we were just struggling to get people. The bar was high. And that's why when people would ask me later on, what was the key to success? It's the people. These quality people built a quality company. And that's super important to have, just to have really good people. Something I heard recently, which rings so true, it's high performing people don't want to work with low performing people. Low performing people don't want to work with high performing people. So once you have a great team, it almost takes care of itself, because you're not going to let people that are low performers in. And that's just the way that this company is very similar to SpaceX. This high quality team can do really cool stuff.
Do you interview everyone personally too, or do you have a good team and you trust their judgment?
I have really good managers that do a great job. On the higher level people I do, but for most of the engineers, I trust that my engineers to hire the best. Yeah.
Do you plan to IPO?
Who knows? Could IPO, could be acquired, could just do like SpaceX and stay private. I don't know. That's out there a ways.
I hope you enjoyed learning more of the SpaceX origin story. Please make sure to like and comment on this video for the algorithm. And if you aren't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 2. If you guys enjoyed this video and all of my Starship coverage, please subscribe to Ellie in Space. It's completely free, and that way you won't miss any future videos. If you want to take it a step further, please consider signing up for my Patreon. YouTube revenue can be very unpredictable and hit or miss, and you guys on my Patreon are why I'm able to take these trips and help me experience the life that I'm very thankful to live down here at Starbase and many of the other places that I've gone to report for the channel and the places that I'll be going in the future.